I haven't really explored much down in SoCal just because I don't have too much time to do exploring. Usually my availability is just limited to when I have a break from school or don't have exams. I actually have a big exam coming up tomorrow that I'm totally neglecting to come out here. But hopefully it's good. Saw a couple divers on the way in. They said Viz was okay, so we can work with okay. Coming from NorCal, that's 6-foot Viz. Anything is better than that. Water temperature is around 70, so we've got the 5 mil on from Versa Spear. Big shout out to them. Check them out. They're an up and coming dive shop from Utah. Yeah, hoping for some uni. Got some friends that wanted some uni, and I couldn't get anyone out with me today, so we're gonna keep it shallow. We're gonna keep the dive times low, and we're gonna stay out of the kelp. I know that means no white sea bass, but if I can get a single calico or a single fish other than the uni, I'll be super happy. Let's hop into it, see how it is. Heading through the kelp, I was super happy to see that visibility was pretty good. I'd say around 15 to 20 feet, depending on the spot. Definitely something that I could work with. Like I mentioned, a lot of my spots up north have like 5 to 10 foot viz, maybe 20 on a really good day. So this visibility right here is like what I'm really hoping for when I go dive in NorCal. On the first couple dives, I noticed some smaller calico in the kelp and even the occasional sheephead like this one right here, but nothing really worth shooting or pursuing. Before getting too distracted by fish, I wanted to accomplish my goal of securing the uni that I had told my friends dive and dive again that I would get for them, but ended up way too distracted in previous dives for, and by the time I actually remembered that I was supposed to grab some uni, I was at a different spot that didn't have too many. But here, that wasn't going to be a problem because they were all over the place, so it wasn't too difficult to quickly stock up on some. In California, we have two primary types of sea urchin, the red sea urchin like the one I'm grabbing right here, and the purple sea urchin. The red sea urchin are significantly larger and a little bit more red tinted, whereas the purple sea urchin are smaller and look a little blue underwater. If you plan on grabbing these, I'd recommend grabbing the red ones just because they're going to have a lot more gonad due to their size. But ultimately, the flavor preference is purely subjective. Sea urchin can be very expensive, with the typical market price in California of one live red urchin being $29. This means that if you were to max out your Californian bag limit of 35 urchin, you would have collected well over $1,000 worth of uni. That's pretty insane, especially considering that you can grab multiple of these in just one breath hold, and considering that I pass up on these all the time just because I've never really tried them. There were quite a few keeper sized sheephead passing me while I collected these, keeper being 12 inches, but as I mentioned before, not really worth shooting. I grabbed a total of 7 and moved along with my dive with another target in mind. This next objective would take me a little bit deeper, trying to find some taller rock structures. I'm looking for scallops, more specifically the giant rock scallop native to California. These scallops might not look like what you'd imagine, the perfect shell sitting in the sand. Instead, they typically are stuck to the rock and have quite a bit of foliage growing on them, making them a little difficult to find. I usually find them on the underside of a ledge or some nook and cranny, and what I'm looking for is a little sliver of orange, which shows when the scallop is open and actively filter feeding. If you're targeting these delicious shellfish, you're going to want an abalone iron like this one, or at least a sacrificial dive knife, because they are very embedded into the rock and can sometimes be impossible to take off with just your hands, especially for the larger ones. Just remember, the bag limit in California is 10, and you can only take in the areas that allow the harvest of non-fin fish. I was so hyped to find all of these scallops. They are my absolute favorite and taste delicious even if you just fry them up in olive oil or some butter because they have so much natural flavor. I definitely recommend giving them a shot. Now, as if catching just 2 of them wasn't good enough, I was about to stumble upon a gold mine. Let's see if you can spot them before I do. There are just so many on this rock. Do you see the little sliver of orange that I'm looking for? Do you see the shape that I'm looking for? What I'm doing now is I'm testing to see if they're alive. If I touch them and they quickly close, this means they're alive and healthy. But on the other hand, if I touch them and they stay open or they do not close, this probably means they're dead or empty. I'm also passing up on a lot of the smaller ones because they really don't have that much meat in them, and I already took 2 small ones not knowing I was going to run into this many.
And when I say this many, a single rock had more than I had ever seen all my time diving in NorCal. I couldn't believe my eyes. I actually had options between which scallops to go for, and some of them were gigantic. Some scallops just pop right off the rock. But other ones really make you work for it. This one right here took me a total of 4 dives to get off the rock because it was just so stuck to it. Then after securing my limit of scallops, I headed to a spot with more kelp in hopes to find some better sized fish. I was seeing quite a few of these opali, which are larger sized surf perch that people generally like to eat. But I really wanted to focus my efforts either on sheephead or calico, so I let them all pass. I kept seeing so many keeper sized sheephead, but the thing with the 12 inches is you're just not going to get a nice size fillet from it. So no sheephead for me today. I also got in some really good practice sneaking up on some smaller calico bass. The key to doing this is making no sound and moving very slowly. These guys are so skittish, that little bubble that came out of my mask sent this guy bolting. After messing around with a couple of smaller ones, I finally found one worth shooting and I took that shot.
I always end up so exhausted when I'm bringing this board that's full of stuff all the way back up these cliffs, man. And it just so happens that it's cloudy the whole dive here until I'm making the hike back up. Then the direct sunlight comes out and just, whew, it gets hot, especially when I was in that 7 mil. It would get so hot. Luckily now I'm in the 5, so it's not too bad. But we had a really good dive today. That was probably the best dive I've had down in SoCal. That was amazing. The thing about mid SoCal conditions is these mid SoCal conditions are like really ideal NorCal conditions. So whenever it's mid down here, I'm like, perfect, good to go. Let's do it. We got our first calico bass today. This one's probably like 16 inches or so. And then a couple of friends from school requested some uni, so we got 7 of these bad boys. Hopefully they're good. I have not had uni in quite some time, just because I've tried them out a few times, and to me it tastes like seafoam. But hopefully they're good, because the last time I got some, I think I got the blue ones, and they were just, they didn't really have any meat inside, and they were just really, really bitter. They're supposed to be like sweet and I think umami flavored, but hopefully this is good. Now, if that wasn't epic enough, we also finished off with a limit that is 10 scallops. All pretty good size, all around this size, which I don't usually find too many bigger than this, but they do get to like the size of my head sometimes. There's a lot of little small ones, but those ones are so small that once you actually get the meat inside, it's around the size of a quarter, so I don't generally get those. But yeah, ending off the dive with a calico bass, my first calico ever, that I actually secured on the line and kept, 10 scallops and 7 uni. So overall, pretty good. I am so tired. That was quite a bit of a longer dive than I expected. Just when the conditions are nice, it's really easy to lose track of time. So anyways, got to get back to it because I have that exam tomorrow that I mentioned. So got to rush back home, get everything cleaned up, and then maybe prepare some of this for my friends and get back to studying, or else I'm going to fail that exam tomorrow, which would not be good. But I mean, low-key worth it.
So overall, that was a really great dive. I really caught a lot. The cooler came home full, which is something that didn't happen for a while. I had 10 dives down here in SoCal where I just caught absolutely nothing. I think it took me quite some time just to get used to the foraging in SoCal, along with the species and their specific behaviors they exhibit. So it took a while to get it down. I think I'm getting it down now though, because the past 3 dives have just been amazing. I've got a backlog of footage, so I should have some more videos on the way if dental school allows me to edit some. But speaking of footage, I wanted to show you guys something I was really excited about, and that's this guy right here, the Insta360 X5, and this is an 8K 360 degree action camera. Got a couple shots in this video with this camera. I want to use it a lot more because it really does a great job of displaying all the beautiful setting of the area that I'm diving in. Specifically for underwater footage, there were a couple things that I was really excited for with this camera. And the first is that this camera now has 1/1.28 inch sensors on both sides. A big upgrade coming from the X4, which had 1/2 inch sensors, so half-inch sensors on both sides. That's a 144% increase in the sensor size, and we definitely do see that in the image quality of the video. Now, while the X4 had 1 AI chip, this one has 3 dedicated chips to help with the low light. So the camera by itself is waterproof up to 15 meters or around 49 feet, which is more than plenty for my own uses. But as we all know, action cameras can warp a little bit underwater, especially when you're dealing with such wide angle lenses. I oftentimes see that when I'm looking at someone else's underwater video. I can tell they have the GoPro on either wide or super wide, and it makes everything look really crazy. But one thing that Insta360 does to combat this is they have dedicated cases for shooting underwater video. The first case they have is pretty similar to the X4 version. It is a plastic case with some warping on that outer bubble portion of the case, making it so the video comes out really nice. This is their Pro Dive case, and this giant thing is what I used in the last video. This is an upgrade from the standard because these domes are made out of glass instead of plastic, and Insta360 really addressed some of the problems that come with shooting underwater 360 degree footage. The first of which was that warping, which the dive case takes care of. And the second of which is something that actually goes on the camera itself for the professional dive case. And that's going to be these little covers right here that go on the camera just like this. They just twist on. And then when you combine it with the dive case, you pop open these 4 latches right here, and you can add in some anti-fogging tabs like you see right there. Then once you've got all 4 latches all sealed up, this is now rated to 50 meters. That is 164 feet, very deep. Since you do have quite a bit of air in the case itself, Insta360 includes with the kit this weight right here, which screws onto either your selfie stick or this for the camera right here as well. One thing that the previous dive cases didn't have is this square attachment at the very end right there. And what this does is it makes sure that this dive case can't tilt back and forth, which would absolutely ruin your video because then you get the selfie stick in all of the shots. If you can see in the camera, we have that attachment that we put on the camera itself, making this entire thing fully black, which takes out problem number 2, which was quite a bit of glare when diving in the water. As you can see from this opening shot, there's very little glare in this thing. Then the third problem they solved with this iteration of underwater shooting gear is that these dive cases can get scratched up pretty easily. Last generation, they kind of just gave it to you and said, hey, good luck. But the thing I really like about these 2 dive cases is that they both come with their proper bags and make it really easy to just throw them back into their bag just like that, clip it, and then you've got a lollipop looking like thing, but it's not going to get scratched at all because this is a nice thick foam covering all the sides of the case, making sure you won't get those scuffs that would ruin your video. So overall, while there's so many upgrades for the X5 that really exceeded my expectations, their accessories that are available for it for underwater shooting really make capturing 360 degree underwater footage a breeze, and also something that looks really good. Anyways, just wanted to give them a shout out for sending me this gear. It's always awesome to include the newest and the latest tech into shooting my videos. Definitely a big upgrade from where I first started. Let me know what you guys think and look forward to seeing more footage from this camera on my channel, which should make some really epic shots. Catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. And then before you click out, let me just show you this. This is a sneak peek at a future video.